I ask everybody to sit down. Okay, so good afternoon for everybody. Great film again. Good afternoon for everybody. I think that after this lunch we deserve some fun. So our next speaker will bring fun to project management and to this conference. Peter Taylor is with us. He's a PMO expert, advisor of many organizations. And he's the author of a bestseller book with a title very close to my heart. It is The Lazy Project Manager. Yes, and he delivered hundreds of presentations in many countries, including Hungary. So Peter, thank you very much for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Project manager walks into a bar. It was either that or take a contract out on the project sponsor because he was an evil man. The project manager walked into the bar and he went up to the barman and said, "Can I have a cold beer, please?" And the barman said, "Certainly, sir," and turned around to get it out of the cold cabinet. "When?" said the project manager. "Sorry, sir," said the barman. "When? Time is very important to me." Just as soon as I get it out from the cabinet, sir." "Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Carry on." "What if you haven't got one?" "Sorry, sir," said the barman, getting slightly annoyed now. "What if you haven't got a cold beer in the cabinet?" Do you have a plan?" The barman turns around, big guy. "Yes, sir, I have a plan." "Okay. Do you really have a plan? Is it written down? Because if it's not written down, it's not a plan at all." "Sir, do we have an issue?" I was very unaware of any issues related to this transaction, and therefore, at that point, the project manager got thrown out of the bar. The project manager goes to his car. He gets in the car and sits down, and on the seat next to him is an ice box. He reaches in and takes out a cold beer. He bought some earlier on, just in case. Other beverages are available, of course. For example, you can drink coffee. And every project manager knows that the coffee machine is on the critical path to project success, don't we? But, why did the project manager cross the road? To get to the critical path, of course. They're going to get worse, trust me. All right, I'm going to go back. So look, as a project manager, I feel people don't understand me. Do people understand you as project managers? I think the challenge here is this, and it's a thing you can do. Like, I'd like people to put their hands up if, and only if, the person nearest to them in life, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, lover, the person closest to them, put your hand up if that person knows what the hell it is you do every day when you go to work. Not many, yes. I did do it at a conference, and in the middle of the room with these two hands going, yes, 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 yes. They were married to each other. Can you imagine the conversations at dinner? I think the problem with being a project manager is it is difficult to explain to other people what it means to be a project manager. There's a game you can play. If you go to project management parties, they're great parties, aren't they? If you go to project management parties, you find a project manager and you get them to answer 2 questions quickly. What are you? I'm a project manager. What do you do? I manage projects. Thank you. Boring. Trust me, that's what's going to happen. The thing about it is, and the reason I feel I'm not understood. I'm not understood at all. And I feel I'm a little bit unloved, actually, occasionally. Sad, very sad. This is where you get very sad and supportive. I'm not feeling very loved, but I don't think I should be loved. The reason I think I should be loved is because I do magic. I do magic. Because when the project starts, despite all of the things that have gone on beforehand, all of the expectations set, the business case development, the signing off, the discussions, the meetings, the approvals, at the point of the project being appointed a project manager, me, it's my fault when it goes wrong, which seems really unfair. The other thing is we do magic as we go through. And it's actually, I think, as a project manager, you kind of need to be a combination of Gandalf, Merlin, Harry Potter. Just imagine if there was the Hogwarts School of Project Management. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Any Harry Potter fans? Yes. Projectus deliverus. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? We could spend a lot more time in the bar. We really could. It'd be fantastic. But if I kind of go back to beer, I often go back to beer. It's part of my core inner strength as far as being a project manager is concerned. I think one of the key things to being a project manager, a successful project manager, is optimism. You have to be an optimist. It's the whole thing. If you think about a glass of beer that's half full or half empty, depends how you view it. As a project manager, you definitely should consider that the glass is half full. If you're negative about things, that's not such a good thing, I don't think. Actually, it's very confusing because there's only one type of person on this planet who has utter clarity about whether the glass is half empty or half full. And that is a wine waiter. When a wine waiter comes and tops up your glass in a restaurant, he will charge you for a full glass of wine. It doesn't matter how much you've had in the glass beforehand. So definitely empty your glass beforehand. But I think different people in organizations see things different ways, all right? So let's imagine an organization. Glass of beer, half full, half empty. Sales would probably say something like, half glass of beer. Well, have you considered the benefits of ice? Pre-sales would say something like, if you give me a few moments, I would demonstrate how I can drink that beer for you. Marketing might say something along the lines of, half glass of beer. We're currently working with a whole new shade of blue. We could actually dye the beer a different color. A project manager would say, are there project managers in the room? A project manager will probably say, why is this glass twice the size it needs to be, and who came up with the estimate for glass in the first place? Technical consultant would say, we love technical consultants, don't we? So technical consultant would say, well, okay then, this was what was expected, but however, I could write a routine to replace the half glass of beer with a full glass of beer, but that will be an extra cost. Solution architect would say, look at the big picture. Solution architect would say, I think you're looking at this far too smallly. I think you need to think about the entire supply chain. So what I'm suggesting here is a microbrewery with a bar attached to it, and you will never run out of beer at all. Finance would say, why aren't we using paper cups? They are so much cheaper. And who approved the budget for beer in the first place? Support would say something like, half glass of beer. Let me check my frequently asked questions. Here we are, 98% fit. Go and buy some more beer. Please rate my response. 1 smiley face, 2 smiley faces, or 3 smiley faces. I think the whole area I'm kind of talking about here is that projects require fun. Projects require a lot of humor in them. It's about people. We've heard that already. And so on that basis, this is a picture of my mother. It's not. I'm not allowed to put a picture of my mother up, actually. This is a quote I got. It's my favorite quote because it's a very generous quote, and you may or may not agree with it by the end of this session. However, that quote's up there. I want to make it very clear. My mother did not say that about me, okay? But I do try to be interesting. I do try to be different. I do try to be engaging in what I do. And the reason I think fun is so important, and I've got a few quotes here. This is Andrew Villeneuve of Reich. The reason I quote Andrew is because he co-wrote the book with me, The Project Manager Who Smiled, where he sponsored the book. What he says here is, look, at work, a good laugh not only reduces tension, it relieves stress, helps improve team morale and bonding. And I actually believe that. I really do. Here's another one. Alexander Kirov, from a brilliant company, Woohoo Inc. That's his company. He's a speaker. He's saying it's not soft, idealistic, hippie nonsense. It's real. There's a lot of science behind this that says if you can build a project experience that is positive, then it is far more productive as far as the delivery is concerned of the project. The team will work closely together. This is Dr. Seuss. And this came about, and it came about because in America, there were some Dick and Jane reading books that were utterly, utterly boring. And Dr. Seuss said, well, if children don't engage themselves with the subject matter, if they don't like it, they are not going to learn in any way. So he came up with The Cat in the Hat, which is a phenomenal worldwide success, along with many other books. And it was all about the fact if you actually put fun into things, people enjoy it. And if they enjoy it, they are going to be far more engaged. They're going to contribute far more. Another one, shortest distance between two people is laughter. I think that's a great quote. If I can make you smile, and you're a tough audience at the moment, but if I can make you smile, then we are that much closer. Richard Branson, the businessman, have fun, success will follow. If you aren't having fun, you're doing it wrong. I'm pretty certain he was talking about business at that point, but you should have fun in everything you do, I believe. This guy, this is Jeff Dunham, ventriloquist. So Walter is the character, really miserable old man, complains about everything. But the thing is, did you know it takes less muscles to smile than to frown? So if you're frowning right now, you're working too hard. Put a smile on your face. It relaxes you. Less energy. I am the lazy project manager, and I believe that actually is a good way of doing things. So it takes less muscles. It gives you the bounce back factor. I think when a team is enjoying themselves, we all know projects are not that easy. Projects will have challenges. But when there are those challenges, then you can have the bounce back factor. The team will recover. They will support each other. They will connect with each other. They'll help out. They'll stay late. They'll work with each other. And suddenly the project has returned. I did a project a few years ago, and I'll be honest, it was the worst project I've ever run. It was a terrible project. I'm kind of ashamed to say that. But I reached the point during the project life cycle where nothing was happening, no progress was being made. Yeah? Everybody blamed everybody else. And we were just burning time, and we were burning cost and burning money, of course. So I took my project team away. I said, we're going to go to a hotel. We're going to book a room, a meeting room, and I got a facilitator in the morning, and they were supposed to re-energize the team. Blue sky thinking, open thought, sharing of ideas, overcoming challenges. We got to lunchtime. Facilitator left. Everybody hated everybody else still. I honestly had no idea what I was going to do, but as we walked into the room, everybody sat down. I stood in the room and I said, I am going to solve every problem on this project right now. 10 people looked at me. And I walked out the room, closed the door. And in a loud voice on the other side of the door, I pretended to be my manager firing me. I gave it a minute or two. I walked back in the room. Most people got the joke. Some people were disappointed I was still employed, but most people got the joke. And honestly, we turned that project around slowly. We delivered it late. We delivered it over budget. We delivered it under scope. But we delivered something. And I absolutely saw that as a turnaround point. I think it helps work better with teamies. Yeah? You know what team stands for, don't you? Together, everyone annoys me. And you don't want that. You don't want that, because that's not a productive place to be. It makes you popular, infectious to others, and not in a bad way either there. It's the fact if you have this persona of positiveness, it's happiness, it's attitude, then it will share itself amongst the team. And there will be days when you're a little bit down and you're going to walk in and your team will smile at you, and it will help you return and recover. So it is very positive, I think, the wisdom of fun. There's a survey that was done on nuns. So these were novice nuns who were about to take their vows, and the piece of research got them to write a short sort of biographical sketch. What they felt about life, what they thought the future would look like, and based on this, they could gauge how positive or negative they were in their attitude to life. And what was interesting, they came back many years later, and the nuns that wrote a positive statement lived much, or more of them were alive into their 80s, whereas the ones that were slightly less positive were no longer with the convent. So actually, there's a lot of arguments that you really should be positive, you should be happy, you should have fun, appropriate fun, of course, because it gives you longevity, it gives you more enjoyment in life, and it is more productive. Now, so what I want to do, you have in front of you a red nose. I mean, we're talking about fun, you've got to have a red nose. If you're going to get your red nose ready, please. Now, the first thing I want you to do, you don't need a red nose for this, but have it ready in your hand. I want you to get into pairs, and I want you to look at each other in pairs, right? So sort yourself out in pairs, in twos. Don't be shy. It can be the person next to you, or it can not ever. When you're in pairs, if you're stuck in a threesome, I'll rephrase that. If you're stuck with somebody else, if it's more than two, then move around. Don't be afraid to move. All right. Now, what I want you to do is, I want you to decide who is the A person and who is the B person. All right? A and B. Okay. Right. The A person, I want you to smile at the B person, and the B person is going to respond naturally. All right? A person is smiling. B person is responding. And typically what you'll find is if A person's smiling, the B person will naturally smile back. All right. A person. A person. Not too, there's a lot of intense staring going on down here. I may have to separate you two. The A person, I want you to look miserable now, really sad, okay? And look at the other B person, and how is the B person responding? Yeah. Oliver finds everything funny, so he doesn't count at all. All right, now the real test. The real test. A person, I want you to look happy. And the B person, I want you to look sad in return and see how easy it is to do. A person happy. B person looks sad. Look sad. Look sad. You're fighting it. You can see it. It doesn't come naturally. It really doesn't come naturally, does it? All right. One last thing. A person, put your red nose on. B person, put your red nose on. A and B look at each other and try not to laugh. Look at it. Look at that happiness. I'm going to take a picture, actually. All right. I'm going to get this right, first of all. Look at the little clown faces there. Look at their little clown faces there. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Now, okay, you can keep the red nose on if you want, or you can take it off. But take it back into work with you, and if you're feeling really down, just sit there. Maybe the next project meeting you have, or steering meeting, just slip the red nose on and look at it, yeah? Be brave. Be brave. All right. Another story. Today is International Project Management Day, a day for you, yes? There is another important day that you should celebrate. It's International Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's a real day. Don't laugh. It's a real day. I have used it. So one year, quite a few years ago now, I found this day called Talk Like a Pirate Day. And my core team, there's about 10 people in the PMO, we thought this was a bit of fun. And so we started talking like a pirate. Yeah? There was lots of yarr and stuff like that going on, yeah? Yeah? Why do pirates talk funny? Because they are pirates, that's why. Anyway, so we had a lot of fun, and I thought, this is great, because I got a PMO, and I had over 100 project managers all over Europe. We never all got together in one place. And so I organized this particular year. I sent every single person, every project manager, an inflatable parrot and an eye patch. And I said, we're celebrating International Speak Like a Pirate Day. And you can go online. This is in September. I can't remember which date it is. It's September. And there are online pirate translators. So you can key in stuff. I have no idea if there's a Hungarian version, but there are certainly many languages. There is, there's German, there's French, there's Spanish, etc. And you can type things in, and it puts it into pirate speak. I mean, this is fantastic. And we had a lot of fun. And we were doing real work as a project community. When suddenly, and this is kind of a tip, when you have fun, make sure everybody is involved. Because a German project manager, and I can't even imagine what German pirate speak is like. You've seen the length of German words. It'd be yarr. Anyway, he suddenly decided that based on this question that was going around, he needed to check with his boss if he was okay with this. So he forwarded his email onto his boss, who wondered what the hell was going on here, because it's pirate speak in German. So make sure everybody's included. But use fun. It's fantastic value. It really is. All right. This is audience participation time, all right? This is the groan-ometer. I'm going to give you some very old project management jokes. And what you have to do is you have to decide how terrible the joke is. Yeah? You'll join in, yes? Okay, you have to have a practice groan. Let's just say I've told you the worst joke possible. You would go, ooh. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. What about this? I think this side's better. We're going to do this one. I would like a groan from this side of the audience because you're better than them, aren't you? 1, 2, 3. I'm giving you a chance to catch up. 1, 2, 3. Oh, all together now. 1, 2, 3. Right, you're all vocalized. Now you can do it. Are you ready for some terrible project management jokes? Here we go. Number 1. The nicest thing about not planning is that failure comes as a complete surprise and is not preceded by a period of worry and depression. Oh, you quite like that one. Okay, fair enough. Next one. A risk is something nasty you smell, and an issue is something nasty you stand in. Well, that got a laugh. Okay, that's winning so far. It takes one woman 9 months to have a baby. It cannot be done by 1 month by impregnating 9 women. Ooh. Ah, okay. Any project can be estimated accurately once it's completed. Yeah, okay. Nothing is impossible for the person who doesn't have to do it. We're not having a lot of groans here. You should get out more, you lot, because these are terrible jokes. Change is inevitable except from a vending machine. Yeah, okay. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Okay. So, cool. All right. Well, that went better than I thought. You guys really kind of like the fun. Okay. So, I want to tell you a story now. I was a young, inexperienced project manager, and I want you to picture the scene. So I'm in the office, and the only thing I've got going for me is I'm willing to work long hours. I'm willing to work late. I'm now a lazy project manager. I don't do that. But in those days, I was working late. I wanted to make an impression. And then one night, I happened to be in the central admin area, where all the photocopiers, machines are, etc. I'm standing there, and suddenly the door at the far end of the corridor, the door where the managing director lived, opened. Now, this is old school. This is the managing director. You rarely saw them. He would never speak to you normally or anything like that. He's a very senior person. Scary. Anyway, the door opened, and down the corridor came the managing director. And he looked at me, and then he looked around, desperately seeing if anybody else was around. But nobody was, just me. And I said, okay. I thought, this is my moment. This is my opportunity. This is my perfect moment. I'm going to make an impression here, and he'll know who I am. I said, good evening, sir. My name is Peter, and I'm a project manager. He returned that with a look of, what the hell is a project manager? I didn't even know we had any project managers. Why are we hiring this guy? I said, can I help you, sir? You look a little bit lost. He said, oh, yeah. And he had a piece of paper in his hand. Do you know how to work this machine? He said, waving it. I said, yes. I know how to use that machine. I am skilled in the functioning of that machine. He said, good. And he handed me the piece of paper. Oh, I'm so proud, so proud. He turned around and started walking towards his office. I took the piece of paper. I placed it in the top of the shredding machine. I pressed the button. It went, and a voice from the corridor said, I just want 10 copies, please. Lesson for all project managers. Know what it is you're supposed to do before you start doing it. I was working on a project, and it was a tough project. And what I did was I decided to take my project team out for a little break, a little walk down the beach that was nearby. And I took 2 people with me, and a database administrator and a solutions architect. And we walked down the beach, and suddenly the database administrator ran up and said, look at that, what is that? And he picked up a lamp. I thought, oh God, we're in trouble now. And before I could stop him rubbing the lamp, he rubbed the lamp. And out of the lamp came a genie. And the genie said, I will grant you 3 wishes for releasing me from the lamp. Oh, hang on, there's 3 of you. Okay, well, you get 1 wish each. Who's going first? The DBA said, I'm going first. I found the lamp. Okay, what do you want? And the DBA said, I'd like to live in South America. I have a huge house, a giant motor cruiser. I'd like fast cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris. I'd like an unending supply of great beer and beautiful ladies to look after my every need. And the genie said, I am a mighty genie. That's easy. He was gone. Genie turns to the next person and said, well, who's next? And I said, okay, off you go, solution architect. You can have a go next. And the solution architect said, I would like to live in the Mediterranean. I'd like a beautiful villa overlooking the Mediterranean. I'd like a yacht. I'd like handbags and shoes, jewelry and pink champagne. It was a lady. And I would like a fast car, and I'd like gorgeous men to look after my every need. And the genie said, well, that's very much like the last one, but okay, go on. And then the genie turned to me and said, well, what do you want? I said, well, look, I'm project manager, and I'm working on this really important project. So what's the chance of getting those 2 back at their desk by 2 o'clock? A week later, having worked on this project for some time, I decided to take a walk down the beach. On my own. I learnt that. On my own. So I'm walking down the beach. Now, being a project manager, I'd carefully put the lamp hid it in some bushes just in case, because that's what project managers do. And I picked it out, and I rubbed the lamp again. And I said, okay, here we go. And the genie appeared and said, what are you doing? You've already had a wish. I said, well, okay, I had a wish. If I'd have found you on my own, I would have had 3 wishes. So why don't we compromise somewhere in the middle and give me 1 more wish? And the genie said, okay, that seems fair enough. But look, if you rub the lamp again, I'm not coming out. I said, fair enough. Fair enough. He said, what is your wish then? I said, look, I'm working on this project, right? Let me tell you about this project. I'm working in the UK. I'm working in America. He said, yes. I said, well, it's all right for you. You're a genie. You can appear wherever you want. And he goes, yeah, I can. I'm a mighty genie. Okay. I would like you to build me a road bridge from the UK to America. I said, I'll tell you why. I have to get up in the morning. I have to drive to the airport. When I get to the airport, I have to check in. I have to go through security. We hate security. We have to take everything out and put everything back in again, and it's very high pressure. I said, then you have to go in the lounge and wait for ages because you can't get there too late in case you miss your flight. Then you get on a plane. The plane's fine. Watch some films, drink some wine, have a sleep, occasionally do some work even. I said, then you get to America and you have to go through border control. If you've been to America and you've been through border control, you know how much fun that is. Then you get your luggage and then you go to the hotel. And at the end of the week, I've got to do it all again. Jenny goes, I can see that being a problem. I can see that being a challenge. So you want a road bridge? I said, yes, from UK all the way to America. I said, because I know it's a long way, but I can sit in my car, it's comfortable, listen to music, make some phone calls, that kind of thing. I think it would be less stressful. And he goes, look, I am a mighty genie. We've established that. But that's a huge ask. A road bridge from the UK to America. Is there nothing else that you want? Okay. What about when I start my next project, all of the stakeholders make up their mind what they want on day one and never, ever change their mind? And the genie said, how many lanes do you want on a road bridge? Anyway, we finally finished the project, thank goodness. It was a tough project. And having finished the project, I decided the thing to do, I think, was to treat my project team. They'd done some good work, all right? So I decided, what do you do when you finish a project? How do you reward your project team members? Apart from buying them a copy of the Lazy Project Manager, of course. And I'd already done that. I decided to take my project team out on a kind of outdoor experience, outdoor adventure, and then afterwards we're going to go out for dinner. The team loved this. There was Jasmine, there was Jenny, Juliet, Adam, Sam, and Scott. And they were so excited. The day approached to when we were going on this big adventure. And we got out there and we had fun. We went kayaking, we went walking, we went riding, we did rock climbing, we did abseiling, and then suddenly disaster struck. We were abseiling when suddenly one of the ropes broke. And as it broke, we all had to get across to the other rope very quickly. And suddenly, there are 7 people hanging from this rope. That's fortunate, because down below there was a 5,000 meter drop to inevitable death. So we're hanging onto this rope. And a voice came over the ledge. It was the instructor, and the instructor said, okay, good news, you're all on a rope. Bad news, that rope cannot hold 7 people. It's only designed to hold 6 people. One of you is going to have to let go. We are doing our best to get help, but it won't last. Well, okay. There was a lot of silence for a while. And then eventually I spoke up. I said, team, I'm going to let go. You've done great work for me. I'm your project manager. It's my responsibility to let go of this rope and fall 5,000 meters to my certain death. But before I go, I'd just like to say a few words. This has been a great project. This has been a tough project. And I want to thank you all individually for your contribution to this project. Without you, I couldn't have been successful. So thank you. So Jasmine, when you joined this project, you didn't have a clue what you were doing, did you? You were really struggling. And we had a chat that time over coffee, and you told me about it, and I said, don't worry about it. Let's get you on a training course, all right? Let's quietly get you on a training course, give you the skills that you need, and you'll be okay. And you were. You went on a training course that I managed to get signed off and paid for, gave you time off, you took the training course, and actually you came back to the project and you contributed. It was fantastic, so thank you for that. I couldn't have done it without you. Really appreciate it. Jenny, wow. Always the source of information, always knowing what's going on. You really took full advantage of my open door policy. You were always in telling me what everyone was thinking, what other people were doing, etc. And to be fair, insights into how people were feeling were really important to the project. So thank you for your contribution. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. Juliet, you're the lady. Subject matter extraordinaire. Unbelievable. okay, it was unfortunate with the whole emotional thing you were going through, breaking up with your boyfriend every 3 days, breaks up, some makeups, etc. But when you weren't having your face in some tissues and smeared mascara, you really contributed to this project. Absolutely critical to our project success, so thank you. Adam, okay. Do you remember that project you were working on when I found you? You were miserable, weren't you? That was a horrible project manager. You were really struggling. We met once by the water cooler. You told me about the horrors you were going through. And I said, why don't you come and work on my project? My project's good. We have a lot of fun. We enjoy the team spirit. And you came over and your life was transformed. You really engaged with the project team and you contributed and you delivered. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Couldn't have done it without you. Sam, baker extraordinaire. I mean, every meeting. Cakes, cupcakes, cookies, donuts, pastries, unbelievable. I have to say, maybe if we hadn't consumed quite so many pastries, we may not all have to let go of this rope. We'd have been a little bit lighter perhaps. But thank you, because you contributed to team spirit. Team meetings would never be the same again without that. Which brings me to Scott. Scotty, what a guy. You, over and above, it was amazing what you contributed. I mean, and through all of your personal problems. I remember, remember that day you came to me and said, could you have the day off because you wanted to go and see your football team because they were in the European Cup? And I said, I can't let you have the day off, I'm sorry. The project work's too important. And then, unbelievably, you came to me and said, my grandmother has died. And you went to the funeral. I mean, that's tough. That's really tough. But when 3 weeks later your second grandmother died, I mean, that's tragedy. That really is. I don't know how you carried on. But you did. You carried on. You contributed throughout the life cycle of the project. And as I said, to lose one grandmother is terrible. To lose two, unbelievable. To lose all 11 of your grandmothers was just too much for any person to bear. But I guess the compensation was your team won the European Cup, didn't they? So well done. Congratulations on that. Anyway, all right, we'll hold on to the rope. I said, okay, team, very shortly, I'm going to let go of this rope. And as you know, there is a 5,000-meter drop to certain death. I just want to say one more thank you to you all. I want you to send my love to my friends and my family. Tell them I had to do this for my project team. They will understand. And you must remember, for the project manager, it's not about you. It's not even about the project. Maybe we did deliver the business benefits, but who cares? The executives don't care because they've already moved on to the next shiny project. It's about the people, and you are the people. You are my project team, and I'm going to let go of this rope in 10 seconds. And at that point, my project team burst into applause. Whoa! What? Oh. It's okay, no rush. There's only one of me now. What? Hang on. Oh, phone's going. Hang on. Don't want to drop. Hi. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm ready. Monday. Yeah, absolutely. New project. That'd be great. Thank you for that. By the way, can you make sure I get a good project team? Because the last ones, they were simply the best. Thank you very much. I've been the lazy and hopefully slightly funny project manager.
Peter, it was a very funny presentation. I enjoyed it very much, but I think that the message was serious, that
yes,
laughing, fun, smiling is very important in project management.
Very serious message.
Maybe.
We really have a very serious message.
It is like oil for a car, because the best Mercedes will stop without oil. Is it possible to develop this skill? I see that you have very good skills for generating fun. But is it possible to develop it? Maybe you were a boring, fat child with huge glasses. One day you decided to become funny, the funniest person in the classroom. So
yeah.
How did it happen?
Yeah, my name is Peter Taylor. I was a miserable bastard as a project manager for many, many years. No, I think, we all have a humor inside of us. It's different for everybody. Some people are very outgoing in their humor. Some are very softer in their humor. But the fun is there. And I think it's just a matter of finding the right approach to that fun. And one of the things you always have to be very careful of is that the humor you have to do, it has to be appropriate humor. It has to be culturally appropriate, gender appropriate, all those sort of things. Just be careful what sort of humor you share. I did thing, and I had this project team, and they did a thing called, it was called It's Friday, and on Friday was the one day we allowed all the humor, all the jokes, all the cartoons, all the Dilbert cartoons, the YouTube videos, etc. And it was a huge bonding experience. And what that worked was because everybody contributed it in their own way. Sometimes there were just little quotes, sometimes there were really laugh-out-loud videos. I realised it's probable that on Monday and Thursday they all shared other humour, but they didn't share it with me. It was just Friday that we shared everything. So I think everybody finds their level of fun and injects it contributes it to the team.
And do you coach managers on generating fun?
I haven't done. That's a good idea. I am available.
Maybe, yes.
Yes.
We may share the profits.
Yes, yeah, 20%. We'll talk about it later.
Okay, thank you very much. And another question, how is it related to change management? Because if something looks to be funny, maybe people will not take it seriously. So what is the best policy to shock people at the beginning and depress people at the beginning, make them afraid of something, or to make fun from the very beginning?
I think you make fun from the beginning, but you gauge it. I mean, it's like you don't have your very first meeting and go in with a really strong, hard, laugh-out-loud joke. That probably isn't going to work very well. You need to understand the people you're dealing with and understand their level of engagement as far as humour is concerned, and play it safe. A little bit of light joking is of value, and you can build it from there, I think.
Mm-hmm. And would you recommend for the authors of PMI book to add a chapter about generating fun?
Absolutely.
Yes. Maybe at the end of the next book.
I think it should be. Yes. Yes.
Make fun, relax, and enjoy.
Absolutely. I think it's a huge thing. I think do you agree? Do you agree that fun is of value? Yes. Good. They didn't groan. That's quite good. So yes, they agree.
Okay, Peter. I know that you have an afternoon flight, so we are very sad now. And we are absolutely depressed, but I know that you have to leave us.
They're not looking sad. I've just had a session on fun, and now you're making them look sad and depressed. You shouldn't do that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And this is just a small token of appreciation for your work. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you very much for all the love. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
And Laszlo, one more thing. I'm a giver, and I know I just gave you all a very expensive red nose, but you saw there at the end, I have a book called The Project Manager Who Smiled. I think it's critical to inject fun into projects. So Laszlo, if I send you a copy of the ebook, will you send a copy to everybody in this room? Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. I decided to write a book with the title The Lazy University Professor, and you will get a copy. Our next speaker is Frank Saladis. He is a PMI fellow, project management consultant and instructor, has a few decades of practical experience, and he was senior consultant and trainer in many important projects at top-level global companies, and he is the originator of the International Project Management Day, and he will speak about leadership and the difference between leadership and management. So thank you very much for being with us.
All right. So I'm going to try a couple of things a little bit different. You might not be used to this, but I'm going to prove what Adrian said about New Yorkers during this presentation. But the first thing I want you to do, because I need everybody to stand up. Everybody has to stand up, okay? All right, everybody on your feet. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to cheer like your favorite football team just scored a goal, okay? On a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. You are very kind. Okay, so anyway, don't sit down yet. Don't sit yet. Okay, what I want you to do is upstage all the other speakers. Okay, so but now what I want you to do is I want you to raise your hand as high, reach as high as you can. Just reach as high as you possibly can. Make sure you reach as far as you can. Okay, is everybody reaching as far as you can? As far? Okay. Now, what I want you to do is reach just a little bit more. Okay, now you notice, you can sit down now, you'll notice that when you were asked to do just a little bit more, you all did the best that you could. Isn't that right? And that's leadership. That's what that leadership is. It's really, doing that little bit more. I remember a quote that said, the only difference between the ordinary person and a true leader is the extraordinary thing that people do, okay? And that's what we have to focus on, is being extraordinary in everything that we do. Now, I had to take some notes because I've been listening to all the speakers today, and I actually modified my presentation a little bit. But what I wanted to do, number one, is my grandparents actually came from Hungary. Okay, they came over in the 1920s. And I don't speak the language, but I did remember a couple of things that I had growing up. One was Solana. You familiar with that? And also Kochinya. I didn't really like that too much, really. And paprika. My grandfather wanted paprika on everything, okay? So I came here, and I'm going to take home some of the history, the ancestry of being in Hungary. So those are just a few things, and I have some other notes here that I want to talk about. But what we're going to do here is I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and can we get the slide up? There we go. Okay. Now, my presentation says how to lead now. And the thing you have to remember, or I have to remember, is that I don't think there's any particular universal definition of leadership, okay? There's a kind of a perception of leadership in the U.S., in various countries in Europe, that leadership perception is going to be different. Everybody agree with that? That no one's actually going to have the same definition for leadership. Another thing that's kind of an interesting thing is that every year, and this is a statistic, every year more than 400 books are written on the subject of leadership. Every year. Now, what does that tell you? Think about that. 400 books every single year written about leadership. What does that tell you? Well, we haven't quite gotten it right yet. So we're going to keep doing that until we actually get it right. And I don't think that there's going to be any one particular universal answer. And we're going to talk a little bit about what leadership is. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is that it is International Project Management Day. And I started that in 2004 after attending the PMI Leadership Institute Master's class. And the professor, at the completion of that program, it was an 18-month program, he said, go out and change the world. And, that's a pretty difficult thing to do. Somebody come up to you and say, go change the world, okay? And what would you do if somebody said, go change the world? So I thought about it, and I took him serious. And I said, I got to make a change because, as Peter was talking about before, there is not what we call a great appreciation for project managers. So I thought about it, and I said, we have Mother's Day, Father's Day, Grandparents' Day. We have, in the U.S., we have National Beer Day. We also have National Ice Cream Sandwich Day, and a whole bunch of other days. And I said, you know what? We need one for project managers. Doesn't that make sense to you? Say yes. Yeah, okay. All right. So anyway, I gave that a lot of thought, talked to my colleagues, and came up with International Project Management Day. Now, it's not really a day of celebration. It's a day of recognition, okay? It's a day of acknowledgement, because to tell you the truth, most people do not actually truly understand what project managers do. In fact, you see what I said up there? I put that quote together. The value of project management can be seen in any skyline. The only thing is that most people, when they see a skyline, they don't say, wow, look at all the projects that were involved in building that skyline. In fact, when people walk into buildings like this building, they don't walk around and they go, wow, look at the project that was done here to make this magnificent place. We seem to take project management for granted. Now, the important thing to remember here is that everything that you do every day, in fact, anything anybody does every day, the things that we use was based on a project. The car you drive, the phone, laptop, planes, trains, boats, cars, trucks. It doesn't matter what it is, Every single thing that's done every single day, used by people, was the result of a project team, but nobody ever thinks about that. Isn't that true? Okay? So what we have to do is we have to change the way we do things. So the important thing to keep in mind here is that, as Peter said, a lot of us, even our relatives, they don't know what we do. If someone says, you know what I do for a living? Yep, you manage projects. But that's about as far as it goes. If you're in a social setting, somebody comes up to you and says, what do you do for a living? Okay, you're probably going to say, I'm a project manager, right? And the response that you get from that is something like, oh. And then they'll walk away to find someone that's a little bit more entertaining, okay? And that's our fault, so you have an assignment. You have an assignment going forward as of today that you are never going to say to someone when they ask you what you do for a living, you are not going to say, I'm a project manager. What you're going to say is something like, I am leading a team that's creating a product that is going to change the lives of thousands of people. I guarantee you they're going to say, tell me more about that, as opposed to, oh. Am I right? You have to stop saying, you have to sell project management, and if you're excited about it, if you have that passion for it, it's not going to be a problem, okay? Regardless of the project that you work on, be excited about it. Many years ago, an author by the name of Tom Peters said every project should be a wow project. Now, by a raise of hands, I just want to know, how many of you are working on a project that people are going to go, wow? 2 people. Well, okay, you all need a lot of help, all right? No, actually, the bottom line here is that if you're working on it, shouldn't you make it an interesting thing? Shouldn't you be excited about it? Because if you're not excited about it, no one else will be, okay? Now, I'm just going to give you an example of that, okay? If you imagine you are all in my class, okay? And I'm going to run a 5-day PMP class. Everybody excited? Yeah, I could tell. Anyway, I'm the instructor for the class. Now, it's a project. It's a 5-day project, right? It's got resources, got to be planned out. It's a project. Now, imagine I'm the leader of this project, and I introduce myself to you first thing in the morning like this. Morning. I hope you're as excited to be here as I am. We're going to be here for 5 days together. Our first break isn't for 2 hours. Okay, now that took about 35 seconds, and what's your reaction? What do you want to do? Get out of there as quickly as you possibly can. Isn't that right? So you have to continuously, regardless if you're working on the same project over and over again, you can't do it the same way. You have to reinvent yourself. You've got to come up with different ways of doing things so that people are constantly paying attention to you. Do you agree with that? Say yes. Yes. Yeah, okay. So what we want to do here is change the impression of project manager. So I'm going to ask you to do something for me just for about a minute or two. Number one is, I know that Peter asked you to do something in Paris, but I want you to just say hello to your people sitting next to you, right, left, behind you. Just turn around, introduce yourself just for a second. Go ahead. Okay, so now you get to know each other, got to network a little bit. Now, for the next 1 minute, with those people that you spoke to, I want you to talk about, bring up any particular phrase that you may have heard that was negative about a project manager. Something that someone said about a project manager that was not very complimentary. Okay? Have you ever heard someone say anything like that? All right, just share that amongst yourselves a little bit, okay? Just negative comments people say about project managers. Okay, all right, so I know this could go on for a little bit of time, but I'm just going to pick on a few people. What would be a negative phrase that someone say about a project manager? We're pushy. Project managers are pushy. Have you heard that before? Okay, what would you say? He agrees with pushy. Okay, all right. What would you say? Something negative about a project manager? Too aggressive. Okay, pushy and aggressive. Okay, what would you say? Arrogant. We're arrogant. What would you say? Anybody can lead a project. Okay, it gets better and better as I move down the audience here. Okay, what would you say? Doesn't take the team's preference into account. Okay, one more. One more. Anybody? What's that? They don't do anything? They do nothing? We are talking about project managers, right? Okay, now, if you really think about it, most of you had no trouble in actually bringing up a phrase about someone saying something nasty about a project manager. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, where'd they get that from? Who caused that? Project managers did. Okay, so we have to kind of change the whole perception of project managers that we are not telling people what to do. We're not the boss or anything like that. We are integrators, coordinators, collaborators, and problem solvers. That's what we do. We motivate people. We get people excited. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Instead of punishing people and complaining to people and coming up to people and say, I've had about enough of you. The project is behind schedule because you are late with your activities. I'm not going to have anything more to do with it. I'm going to talk to your boss. In fact, I'm going to get you replaced because you're not helping. Is that going to be helpful? No. Okay, now while I'm saying all of that to you, what are you thinking? Don't say it. Okay, don't say it. Okay. So, what we have to do is change that perception. Okay, so we're going to talk about all these things up here. Core competencies, techniques, just a number of different things, framework for creating a leadership plan. And I'm going to try to get all that done in the next about 30 minutes. Now, I want you to imagine something here. Imagine your project is a movie. Your project is a movie. It's been filmed and people are going to watch it. Now, you're going to ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one is, is it a drama? Is it a comedy? Is it a tragedy? Is it a horror story? How many think is a horror story? Okay. How about, is it a snoozer? Okay, in other words, this is really boring. Okay. Or is it a suspense thriller? Okay. Or maybe it's a love story. Anybody have a project that's a love story? We do. All right, there we go. Or maybe it's an action adventure. Okay? So you got to start thinking about what kind of project would you want your project to be if it was in a movie? Okay? Probably not a snoozer, not a tragedy, and maybe not a comedy either. But something exciting, something that people can say, wow, I need to relive this again because it's such a good thing. So that's an important thing to think about. Now, there's one more thing I want to talk about. So I added this because I was being inspired by all the other speakers, and it's something we have to change. If we're going to be good, strong leaders, we're going to have to deal with and basically cure ourselves of that. That is called BPIDS, which is Business Professionals Innovation Deficiency Syndrome. Okay? Now, there are symptoms of that. Okay, so let's talk about the symptoms. First of all, there is what we call internal myopia, which means you're very short-sighted. Then there is the ostrich view. I think everybody knows that. Okay? Then we have the paralysis of the past. Well, we've always done it this way, so why would we want to change? Okay? Then we have my way or no way. In New York City, it's more like my way or the highway. Okay, either you do it this way or you're gone, okay? All right, Adrian is definitely saying, yep, he's a New Yorker, all right. Okay, the feedback walls. We ask for input, but we don't get anything back, okay? Or they have experts in charge. A lot of people, and this is the quote that I came up with, was that if someone proclaims themselves as an expert, they seldom are. Watch for the person who says, I'm an expert at this, okay? The true experts do not have to ever say that. You go to them because they know and they're going to help you. Isn't that true? That's really important. Okay, and then there's the fear of failure, okay? And it'll stop us from doing things. Now, if you have any of these symptoms, you're going to have to change your leadership style. Okay? And that's what we'll talk about. We're going to get a little bit serious here about, some of the things that are associated with being a leader. So let's just talk about leadership. Now, before I bring up the next slide, I want you to think to yourself, what is the definition of leadership? I want you to just think to your mind, what is the definition of leadership? Okay? And you're going to see that there's leadership and there are also characteristics of a leader, but they are two different things, okay? Now, let me just give you an example here, okay? People, organizations, they expect leadership. They expect leadership from you, the project managers. No question about it. You should be leading them, providing them with support, helping them along, okay? We had a discussion about servant leadership earlier, and that's what we're talking about here. So what we have here is leadership is expected, but how is it defined? Now, this is a true story. A friend of mine went home and asked her 5-year-old son, what's the definition of leadership? And he said, leadership is like follow the leader. You follow someone until they do something really stupid, and then you go follow someone else, okay? And I said, there it is. 5-year-old has nailed it, okay? We're going to go this direction. Oh, that's stupid. We're now going to find someone else to lead. Isn't that right? But that's really has a lot of truth to it. Now, there are assumptions or misconceptions about leaders and leadership, okay? Impressive title implies leadership. I'm the vice president of the company. Does that automatically make that person an outstanding leader? No, it doesn't, okay? What about leading and managing are the same thing? You think that's true? It's not even close, okay? Entrepreneurs are leaders. Some of you, they're not really leaders, but they have great ideas, but they need someone to move that idea forward, right? Okay? A high IQ means great leader. Okay, they're really, really smart people. I know a lot of people that are super smart have no common sense at all, okay? We have the person that's out in front as the leader, okay? And we have the leadership is based on position. These are misconceptions. They come from the book 21 Irrefutable Laws by John C. Maxwell. But we need to kind of take a look at what we're going to call the work of leadership. Okay, now if you look at it, it's really kind of a combination of things. What we have is manage and create change. Adrian talked about change quite a bit. You are in the business of change if you're a leader, okay? Peter Senge said something about change I thought was kind of interesting. He said people don't resist change, they resist being changed. In other words, I can't change you. You have to change you. I need to give you the mechanism to realize that it's up to you to move forward, okay? And some people are just not going to do that, and it's a hard lesson in life, but in some cases, the leader is going to say, you're not willing to change, you're not willing to work with us? Well, we're all getting on the bus, but we're going to leave you behind. Isn't that true? That does happen, so we have to be aware of that, okay? We're managing the stress and distress of change. I think that's a great way to put it. We also have to clarify values. Values is an important thing. Let's just talk about value for a minute. Okay, if you think about value, so a lot of people can't put a definition of value. So in order to do that, what I want you to do is think about a product that you own, something that you have in your possession that you absolutely love. I love this thing. In fact, everybody should have one because I love it so much. Okay, can you think of a product that you have that's just the most fantastic thing? I'm going to pick on Adrian. What would be a product that you have that's just like, wow, your phone? iPhone? A lot of people say, I got to have my iPhone. My iPhone does this. I can keep track of things. I have calendars. I can look up things on the internet. I can text messages. I can do research. It's got my whole life organized, and so on. And I would say you can actually even make a phone call with it too, right? Okay, so, but if you have that kind of a thing, you didn't talk about price at all. You talked about the benefit you got from it. That is value. Now, you have to create value every single day that you come to work, okay? How many of you come to work and you say to yourself, you know, I think I'm only going to do mediocre work today? How many of you do that? Better not see any hands, okay? Well, there are people out there that are satisfied with mediocre work, but you create, every day that you create value, you are showing leadership. Let me just give you an example. What we have here is, we have George. Is that correct? George. George does excellent work. Do you do excellent work? Of course. Everybody, give him a round of applause because he does excellent work. Okay? All right, now, what we have here is Robert over here. Robert does good work. Now, you know, see, every time I do that, because he only does good work. Oh, poor him. Okay, I'm sure you do excellent work, right? Do excellent work? Okay, Robert. So anyway, the point here is that good is okay until excellent came along. You need to develop a reputation for being excellent. What that does is that gives you brand. Brand is telling you that people know who you are and what you do, and they're going to pursue you because of that brand. Brand leads you to success. Success is associated with brand. How do you continue to develop or create success or be successful? Produce more value. That's a simple equation. Value, brand, success, more value. That's your mission. That's what leaders do, okay? If you look at it, we don't tell people what to do. Leaders lead the way. They get people to follow because they have this passion to go forward. That's what's really important. Okay? If you look at this quote up here, solutions to adaptive challenges reside not in the executive suite, but in the collective intelligence of all of the employees. I think you said that. Adrian said that. At least that was part of the theme, that we need to have everybody on board. That's really important. So what we have to do here in the work of leadership, if you look at what we have here, instead of providing answers, a lot of people have this misconception that leaders should have all the answers. That's not the way leadership works. You know how leadership works? Ask really tough questions to get people to think and be more innovative and creative. Isn't that going to help the organization? If you just give everybody answers all the time, nobody grows. Okay? Stimulate, actually, reality. Reality will stimulate new ideas. You know, there was a saying many years ago, what is it? Necessity is the mother of all invention. Reality is going to cause people to think differently. Okay? Establish new relationships. Challenge the way your organization does things. In other words, instead of, you probably heard this before, business as usual, make it business unusual. Let's do it a little bit different. Let's look at things from a completely different perspective. Okay? A leadership in the project manager is a natural connection. And we have to get people to make sure that if you are put into a leadership position, assigned as a project manager, you are put in a leadership position. Okay? Now, the thing about project managers is that it's a kind of a balance of leadership and management. Okay? It says leadership and management are two distinctive and complementary systems of action. If you look at leader and you look at manager, okay, setting direction, aligning people, motivating, doing all those soft skill kinds of things, but we also have to do the planning and the organizing and the controlling and things like that. But you see, this is where the balance comes in. This is what makes project managers unique. You're not just leading, you are managing, which makes it a challenge, a type of a job, and it isn't for everybody. You know, not everybody can be really a good, solid project manager. You agree with that? Okay. All right. So if we think about the difference between management and leadership, okay, look at what management does. Coping with complexity, procedures, processes, controls. You know, we need to have things done in an orderly way or we're going to have chaos. Okay, but leaders, We manage change. We want to get things done differently and better. We should be on this journey of continuous improvement. That's what we're looking for. And that's really what goes on here. Now, if you see where it says here, more change demands more leadership. And you know, we're going through constant change, and change is actually accelerating, I think, each year with all these different changes. So let's just talk about leading. What you have to do is you have to prepare to lead. You have to get ready for it. You have to ask yourself the kind of questions like, well, I'm a leader. What do they expect of me? And how am I going to lead people to get something done? I read something in the Wall Street Journal a long time ago. It said that generals don't manage people into battle, right? They lead people into battle. They lead, okay? We're not going to manage anybody. We have to get people out in front to do things. So I want you to think about this. Describe in your mind what you think is the ideal leader. The ideal leader. You know, think about somebody that you believe is just a fantastic leader. And how would you describe that individual? Okay, Greta, what would you say? They're motivational. What would you say? Inspirational. Motivational and inspirational. Wow. What would you say? They're authentic. Authentic leadership, great. Keep in mind, authentic leaders exist at every level in an organization. If you are doing something to help other people, to add value, to create what we'll call beneficial change, you're an authentic leader. That's exactly what you are. What else? What would be a characteristics of the ideal leader? They have charisma. They have charisma. Okay, yeah. Actually, we need some of that, because if we're boring, people say, "Oh, okay, it's a good message, but it's not exciting me." So you got to have passion and you got to have charisma. What would you say? Setting an example. Exactly. Now, if you take a look at this slide here, you will see that all of these things are probably things that you were thinking about when it came to the characteristics of a leader, right? Knowledge and systematic processes, interacts with people, innovator, including business savvy down at the bottom there. You're all of these things. But I just want you to keep in mind that these are characteristics and what we refer to as the external manifestation of leadership. It's what we perceive leadership to be, but these are simply characteristics. Leadership is about what you get accomplished through other people. It's not about output, it's about outcome. Because we did this, this has changed for the benefit of. So you have to start thinking in terms of, instead of output, you have to start thinking about outcome. We did this, what changed because? And then continue to do that. So we have to have these characteristics, but we have to actually provide leadership. This is really pretty important. Okay, now, if you look at it, it says leadership development is a learning effort. It enhances the leader's capacity to influence, motivate, and inspire people. Okay? Creating vision and direction. That's what leaders do. And also, it's a critical skill. The critical skill is the ability to plan and manage your own learning. Okay, now there's a quote. I like the quote. It's a little strange quote, and it comes from a person by the name of Zig Ziglar, who was a famous motivational speaker from Texas. Okay, and what he was saying was, well, first thing that comes to mind is do the things you ought to do when you ought to do them, so you can do the things you want to do when you want to do them. That's a great quote. Okay, and the other one he said, which was kind of interesting, he said, while you're green, you're still growing, and once you're ripe, you start to rot. I think you need to think about that for a second. But the important thing here is that, is there anybody here know everything? Anybody here, do you know everything? You notice nobody raised their hand, which means that there is a lot for you to learn. So stay green and continue to learn and develop. The more you know, the more interesting you become as an individual, and the more you can share with other people. Doesn't that make sense? to do that for sure. Okay, trends. Now, these are just some statistics that I came up with. I did some research, okay? And this is from 2018, and I'm going to show you 2019 also, but I thought these were pretty good. Cross-cultural leadership, I thought that was a great thing to bring up here because we are definitely managing most of our projects in a very cross-cultural environment. Strategic awareness, we have to lead change. Change is going to be in leadership vocabulary all the time. Emotional intelligence, okay? We need to understand how our behaviors affect other people, and we also have to understand that other people have emotions, and maybe we need to, before we jump to conclusions, check with people when we see them behaving in a way that doesn't seem right, okay? Maybe start asking some questions. So we need to focus on the emotional intelligence part. Korn Ferry Hay Group, emotionally intelligent leaders display all these things. They listen more, they empathize, they emphasize, they engage, they resolve. You know what? They stay connected. They stay connected to people. All of you probably need to, if you go online, if you actually just Google emotional intelligence test, there are dozens of tests out there which you should go out and check to see what your level of emotional intelligence is and where you need to start to make some changes yourself. Okay, so it's a pretty important thing, emotional intelligence. Now, if you think about leadership development trends, and like I said, I left this up here for a reason, management and leadership skills. Top management must continue to learn to inspire other people. We have to find ways to get people to keep going and keep them engaged. We do have to have some technical skills. We have to balance some of that people skills with the technical skills. Real quick story on that. I worked for Cisco Systems for about 3 years. And during that time frame, when I first got into that company, the projects were all being managed by these super technical people called CCIEs, the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. These were if you can think of this, the most technical person you know, multiply that by 100, and then you'll have a CCIE. These were truly technical people. And they were leading projects, and the problem was that they were more interested in the technical aspect and the networks and so on, that all the other parts of the project were kind of floundering. And we came up with something. I was in professional services, and this is something you should think about, is that what we came up with, which they adapted there, was that we don't need technically competent project managers. What we do need is technically competent team members to do their functional job, but what we need is technically credible project managers. We need to understand the technology, we need to be able to talk to people about it, but we don't necessarily have to design it and build it and test it. Do you agree with that? This is where we need to go. We need to be technically credible, okay? And then, of course, you see here career development skills. Okay, not only do we have to develop our own careers and continue to learn, but we also have to get our direct reports to be doing the same thing. They can't be relying on their boss to say, well, what should I learn now? You need to go ahead and start learning new things all the time. This is what we need to be strong leaders, okay? Trends in 2019, ability to lead several generations. This is an interesting thing here. So we got baby boomers and we got millennials and we got the next generation, which I think is Z. And they're all different, okay? But we have to learn to collaborate. About a year or so ago, I watched the movie The Intern. Anybody see The Intern with Robert De Niro? If you haven't seen that movie, you should see it. It's really about the connection between a 70-year-old baby boomer and 25-year-old internet clothing company. And I actually did a webinar called What Project Managers Can Learn from the movie The Intern. And really is that in the beginning, they were far, far apart, okay? But they worked together. The senior people had more people skills than the younger folks. And there was a way to blend it all together into a very, very solid organization. And that's what we need to do. We need to manage that better. Instant gratification. Today, everybody wants everything done like right now. Okay? If you're Amazon, you order something for Amazon in the morning, you want it on your front porch by the afternoon, right? We just need to get everything quicker and quicker. We have to be aware of that. Accountability. Leaders need to take accountability instead of sacrificing other people when things don't go right. Okay? And of course, continuing education. always adapting to new trends. You should make it a habit to look at the leadership trends, the project management trends that the experts are focusing on in the years 2020, 21, 22, and so on. Even Thomas this morning was talking about what's going to change, 20, 30 years from now. These are things that we need to look at. Right here, the emphasis, okay, if we look at where it says insights at learnlight.com, I just highlighted two things. Global leadership skills, global, not local, but global, okay, and to work across cultures. Those are major trends, 2019, 2020, and beyond, that we need to be focusing on. No question about it. If you look a little bit closer, global leadership skills, according to James Clausen, okay, overseas experience. Find a way to get a job that's going to take you to some other country that's very different from your culture. Self-awareness about how you manage problems, how you establish relationships with people, sensitivity to cultural diversity. I mean, this is a great list of things. Well-spoken, good negotiator, which brings me to another question, and that question is, how many of you here would say that you are an excellent communicator? I'm excellent communicator. I just want you to glance around a little bit here, and you're going to find that nobody raised their hand. No one, not even the speakers raised their hand. What does that tell you? Nobody raised their hand. What does that tell you? It's basically saying we have work to do. We are not excellent. I'll give you an example. I was at a conference in New Jersey not that long ago, and I asked the audience, about 200 people, is there anybody here an excellent communicator? One person raised his hand, and I went right over to the person, and I made him stand up, and I said, what makes you an excellent communicator? And this is exactly what he did. He said, because I tell people what they need to know. Did that make him an excellent communicator? Now, when somebody is pointing their finger at you like this, are you listening? You're probably saying, get that finger out of my face, or something bad's going to happen, okay? They didn't make him an excellent speaker. The first time I asked that question was about 8 years ago in Penn State University at a management conference there. Same exact question. There was 100 people in there, and one person raised his hand, and I really wanted to know, what makes you an excellent communicator? And he said very simply, because I listen. Now you have to ask yourself, how good a listener are you? Okay, and I'm going to add to that a quote which will help you understand why that's so important. The quote goes like this: the trouble with management is that they spend more time listening to what they are about to say than what is being said to them. I guarantee you that if someone is speaking to you and you are formulating a response while that person is speaking to you, you are not listening. You need to hone your listening skills to be a better communicator. Okay? So what are the behaviors that are expected from a project manager? Give the work to somebody else and trust them, empower them, motivate them, listen, be a team player, coach, be a mentor, and encourage creative thinking. Ask, well, how else can we do this? As opposed to, we never did it that way before. Oh, he's always done it this way. Okay, we can't do that. There was a book that was written, Marshall Goldsmith, I think. he wrote the book, I think it was him. He wrote the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Right? Just because you're successful right to this particular moment in time does not mean you're going to be successful tomorrow without upskilling, which is a new word. I only learned that word a couple of weeks ago. We have to continue to upskill. And that's what's going on in today's project environment and what we're going to do as leaders, okay? So if we have a path going forward, we have to ask ourselves, where are we going, okay? What's our strategic plan? It's more than just the organization's strategic plan. It really is, what are we going to do to continue our movement forward? More benefits realization, more creating value. These are the kinds of things that we need to focus on. So here's some questions. Now, by the way, I think that these presentations will be made available to you. So there's a lot of information in here, so don't worry about taking notes on this. But you got to ask questions like this. To do all aspects of my leadership duties well, I should improve what? A lot of people say my communication skills. That would be a good answer to that one. If I were better at, I would excel relative to my peers. Now, that does not mean that you need to struggle and compete with your peers, but you should find something that you have, some niche, that you do better than anybody else. And everybody finds one. Imagine if you have all this power coming together by focusing on these things that we really do best, that we excel in. So take a look at all these questions. The last one is an important question. The reasons why I should continue my personal development include, okay? And I'll answer that for you. The answer is to keep my job or to stay employed or to move forward. Isn't that true? We have to do those kinds of things. That's really an important thing. So if we're going to plan our leadership development, we have to learn new skills pretty much every day. You should be in a constant learning mode. Okay? We have to help others learn new skills. Okay? There are people who think that if they keep telling people what to do and giving the direction and so on, that they're great leaders. But Tom Peters also said in a later book entitled The Little Big Things, he said, to lead is to serve, period. To lead is to serve, period. Meaning, I'm here to help you be better than me, not to suppress you so that you're not as good as me. We got this whole thing backwards, okay? If you get an opportunity, watch some of the videos of Simon Sinek. Okay? And he says, management got this whole thing backwards. In order for people to get ahead, they sacrifice other people. It really should be the other way around. We want you to get ahead, so I'll sacrifice what I'm doing to make you a better person, right? So we kind of have that backwards, and I think we have to work on that, okay? Appropriate frame of mind. And that's to encourage personal development, not only amongst ourselves, amongst everybody else. Get everybody to be on this learning curve. It's just an amazing thing to just continue to learn and look ahead and become change ready. That was a theme earlier today. Become change ready. Kind of embrace change, ask some questions, and let's smooth out that little chart, the chart that you saw before. We have to go down into this period of what's it called, deep frustration. Okay? What we need to do is we need to change, in a lot of cases, it's kind of like a graph that goes like this, and then there's this dip, and then we go up. And that little area where that dip is where we're least productive. In fact, we're actually going backwards. We need to kind of smooth it out so there's much more like this. That's what we need to do. We need to be change ready. We have to embrace change, and we have to get people to help understand why change is important. Okay? Key items for developing your leaders. Partner with other organizations, partner with other functional groups, learn about what they do. Project managers really should learn a lot about all of the other aspects of the business, okay? That will make you a truly solid leader and a project manager. A personal development plan and a partnership with other people, okay? There are people out there, so get mentors. Have a mentor. I'm fortunate having been awarded the PMI Fellow back in 2015. You know how I got there? Through mentors, through other PMI Fellows who mentored and helped me make the changes that I needed to make in order to get that kind of recognition. So we need to get mentors, get people to help you along the path, okay? And then, of course, we have this thing called gaps, okay? And you'll see the model, but basically your goals, your abilities, your perceptions, and your success factors. You need to establish that for yourself and then develop a plan for improvement. And the last few slides really are about that plan for improvement, okay? Now, we also talked about transformational leadership. I think Oliver mentioned that earlier today. The point here is if you take a look at transformational leadership, people will follow a person who inspires them. You've got to get people to go, wow, look at all the things this person does, and look how excited they are about what they are doing. It's really, this is what's going to get people to move forward, to see the passion in someone else. That's really pretty important. Okay, style, the passion, the energy, the things that keep you moving forward and looking for the next best way to do something, and of course, vision. Okay, what's going to happen next? Where do I want to be? What's my desired future state? These are the kinds of things that are associated with what we'll call transformational leadership. So, change before you have to. Okay, I think that if we can accept the fact that change is going to happen and we continuously prepare for it, we're actually going to be part of the movement and make it smoother going forward. So it's really important. Set some expectations for yourself, for your team, and make sure that you're setting expectations intentionally. what I have found is that most people don't spend very much time talking about expectations. Communicate them. The bosses have expectations of you, but you also have expectations of the boss. Communicate that information. And of course, like I said before, find development partners. Get in touch with some executives and sponsors and things like that, and start to understand how they think. It'll help you change the way you think and be more adaptive to the changes in the future. That's really important. The GAP model here, identify your goals and values. What success factors are you defining? What are your abilities? How do you see yourself? And this is the most important part of that, okay, is perceptions, because our perception of ourselves is a lot different than the perceptions that other people have of us. Have you ever done a 360-degree feedback? Have you ever looked at it and go, no way? That must be wrong. There's a typo here. Okay? No, that's how other people see us. And sometimes we are not taking enough time to understand how people see us. So get some feedback. But get feedback from people who are going to be honest and respectful. Okay? We had a policy. I worked at AT&T for 28 and a half years. We had a policy there of, in one of the organizations, of open and honest feedback. Open and honest communication. How's that sound? Sound good? We're going to be open and honest. I just want you to think about that. That leaves people with a license to do a lot of things. So the example would be someone makes a comment and another person says, okay, can I be open and honest with you? And you say, yeah. He says, well, I think you're an idiot. I'm just being open and honest. Okay, so what's missing in open and honest feedback? Respect. You can give feedback that's not comfortable if you do it respectfully, in a helping way, as opposed to just simply beating up people because they did something wrong. This is how we have to change leadership. I think that's really important. So watch that connection, the goals and values and our success factors. So then to pull it all together here, what we have to have is a leadership development plan. If you are moving forward in the organization, if you have aspirations for higher and higher positions of responsibility and accountability, there are 4 components here. Leading yourself, leading people, leading small teams, and then leading organizations. And this is sort of like a gradual step, okay? Most people don't become instant CEOs from a company. They develop that through experience. Okay, and some trial and error in there, which reminds me of a favorite quote. The quote was that good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. How many of you have had some experience? Okay, you guys got to wake up a little bit, okay? We're going to be serving coffee soon here, okay? But listen to that quote. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. How many of you have had an experience? Most of you. That's how we learn, okay? And I'm going to show you one more thing about that word fail, because sometimes we do fail. But if you look at your leading yourself, decision-making, planning, problem-solving, influencing others, personal productivity, these are the things that you need to focus on. That's to lead yourself. Leading people. Now you're coaching, now you're delegating, you're mentoring, you're building trust, you're managing difficult people. U.S. project managers, you have to deal with a difficult person? Yeah, we have to learn these kinds of skills to develop our plan, okay? Moving forward, small groups and teams, project managers leading small groups, facilitation, meeting management, team building, okay? Then we have leading an organization, strategic analysis, SWOT analysis, and organizational change. So we're stepping up to all of these elements in order for us to be more effective as leaders. To implement your plan, there's a whole shopping list of things to do, but spend a few minutes every day on your personal development. Be an opportunist, be creative, be innovative. Don't be afraid to fail. It says here, fail, the word fail. First attempt in learning. Don't be afraid to fail. I'm not an advocate of people say, hurry up and fail, or fail first. No one wants to go and say, let's hurry up and fail. Let's really screw up, okay? What we really want to do is learn from failure, because failure is simply a detour on the road to success, right? So that's what we need to focus on. That quote back there, shoot for the moon. If you don't get there, at least you'll be among the stars. I love that quote. That's what you all are. You're all stars, okay? And continue to grow and become brighter each day, okay? Get feedback from people. How can I do things differently? And always be honest with yourself. And then the last piece here is the project manager. If you look at it, it says professional at all times, respect for all stakeholders, ownership of each assignment, judicial decision maker, excellence in execution, a communicator, team player and team builder, and then the manager side, motivator, action-oriented, negotiator, always available, genuine commitment, energetic and empowering, responsible for success. That's what you are. That's what project managers are. Remember, you're not a project manager anymore. You are leading a team to do amazing things. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Frank, thank you very much. You told us that as project managers, we need both. We need management skills and management and leadership. So it means that a project manager must have two souls, one for leadership and one for management. And the two things are complementary. So there must be a harmony between the two. Have you ever met a situation when the two things are in conflicts with each other, and the leadership soul says that we have to do this, and the manager soul said that we have to do something else?
Well, if we're talking about leadership and management from the project manager's perspective, if we are balanced, then there wouldn't be conflict. What we have here, the conflict begins when you're a leader and you're not managing, and when you're managing and you're not leading, okay? And unfortunately, the reason I asked you that question earlier about what are some of the negative things that people say about project managers is because project managers tend to manage. They manage process, they manage inputs, outputs, control, and they get upset when something doesn't go according to their plan, okay? We do need management to help us stay organized and identify where control issues exist. What we need is the leadership side to get the other person to get things done by helping them, by asking questions like, what do you need? How can I help you? What will it take to get us back on track? Give me some input. I will run with it for you. I will work with you. So it's really, when we have that good balance between management and leadership, there is no conflict. The conflicts actually develop when we focus too much on management and not enough on leadership, or too much on leadership and not enough on management, because there are great leaders who are terrible managers, and there are really seriously good managers who are awful leaders, and we need to have that balance.
So is it not true that leadership is about emotions, getting emotional, and management is something rational? And sometimes our emotional mind can be in conflict with our rational mind. We may use some historic examples as well, and
well,
maybe there are quite a few.
Yeah, okay. I think that leadership is definitely has an emotional aspect. But that's where the emotional intelligence part comes in. It's that when things go wrong, if you've ever seen this, in most cases, at least in my experience, when a senior executive is faced with a challenge, they do not break down in tears. They don't start, running around being confused. What they do is they kind of like take it in, and then they ask questions like, okay, what are the options that we have? And they stay calm. They actually understand that if they start to get upset and they start to appear like they are not in control, that creates a kind of a rippling effect to an entire organization. Hey, he doesn't know what to do. What are we going to do? And everybody gets excited. So it's really about staying in touch with your behavior and making sure that what you're doing, they are seeing your behavior and your actions far more than your words. So you have to control that emotional part. But the leader also focuses on connecting with people. The most successful leaders are those people who actually know their team members' names, that they go out there and they ask, how are things going? Do you need anything from me? I'm just checking in. That's the connection. That's the emotional people side. And then there's the managerial connection. So, we are, too many defects here. We're behind schedule here, a little over budget. Okay, we're going to have to address that. let's talk about how we are going to fix that. So we do have to manage both sides of there. But I would say that the leadership side is the real, true people side, okay, what we call the soft skills. Got to have strong soft skills, but you can't let go of the managerial side, that at some point in time, we're going to have to be very specific about how we're going to get things done.
Frank, and we have a question from the audience about burning out. So does it happen frequently that leaders burn out? And what can they do against it?
Okay, well, first of all, if the leaders who burn out are probably not delegating anywhere near as much as they should, they start to kind of take over things, and you don't want to do that. You need to delegate. By delegating, you're telling people that you trust them, okay? You need to release that. You need to let go and let other people do things. The best way to do that is to set your expectations with that individual. This is what I expect of you. This is how I'd like to see this done. If you have any questions, come to me and so on, and sort of just let it go. That's one part. Another part would be that if you're not taking good care of your health, okay, then you're going to really run into burnout. You have to, take walks. You need to get out away from your desk. You need to go to the gym. You need to do some kind of exercise, even if it's only 10, 15 minutes a day. You need to kind of continue to recharge. You also have to, most executives do this, most C-levels, find the time to take 15 to 20 minutes out of any day and isolate themselves from everyone else and just simply kind of relax. And some of them actually meditate so that they can actually recharge. So you need to balance your health. There's a saying that says, if you take care of the inside, it'll take care of the outside for you. Okay, it's the same thing in management. You have to take care of you so that you can actually help your team. You're not going to help them if you're unhealthy. Okay, and if you're unhealthy, I guarantee you are not as sharp as you could be. So that's really an important thing, is your personal health, what you eat, the exercise that you do, and also talk to other people that motivate you. Talk to other people and say, hey, I got an issue. Maybe you can help me out. And they can inspire you. You don't go to just anybody. You go to people that you really, really have a lot of trust in and respect in, and definitely, appreciate their knowledge and work with them. And I think that helps to avoid that burnout from actually occurring.
There are so many interesting questions. There is one about generations. So is it true that older people are better leader or young people are better leader? Or what happens if young people must lead older ones? You mentioned the movie The Intern.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Who was the leader, Robert De Niro or Anne Hathaway?
Well, okay, let me just say about the movie The Intern. And you have to set this up because it became a two-way street. They actually taught each other. They learned from each other. When Robert De Niro came into the job, okay, well, first of all, he wore a jacket and tie every single day. Okay, the young folks came in T-shirts and khakis and things like that. He came in with a leather briefcase, and he opened up his briefcase and he took out a notepad, and he took out an alarm clock, and he took out a little calculator, and all this technology from 30 years ago, okay? And he's sitting there next to two interns, and they open up their laptops, and they got all this latest technology, and he's sitting in front of a computer, and he had no idea how to even turn it on. At the end of the movie, he is like emailing and creating presentations. It's just fantastic. So he learned a lot of technology, but as an example, one of the young men, 25 years old, roughly, had a real problem with his girlfriend. He did something bad, and she was very unhappy with him. So Robert De Niro, he came to Robert De Niro and said, what can I do? Do you have any advice? And Robert De Niro simply said, well, did you actually go talk to her and say that you're sorry? And he said, well, not really. But I sent her a text with a whole bunch of sad-faced emojis. And he said, that's not going to do it. So what he had in terms of interpersonal, people skills, emotion, passion for people, they did not have the same level. And basically, he brought them up while they brought him up in terms of technology. So it became very mutual. And the end of the movie was they were really working together. I'd like to see more of that in the corporate environment, because we do have the baby boomers that are going, I've been around here for 30 years, and I know exactly how to do things, and you're going to listen to me. Okay, also, you have the baby boomer that's reporting to the 25-year-old going, what can this person do? You know, why is that person in that position? I'm not making this up, right? Shouldn't it be, I have certain skills that I can share with you. You have certain skills you can share with me. So why don't we collaborate? That's what we're after here. And that's what I learned from that movie.
Thank you. And we have 1 minute for the last question. You mentioned to us that there are about 400 books published every year about leadership. And as an expert, you must read all of them, I think. Each one. By your opinion, which is the best one? And it's a serious question. So if you have time only to read one book about leadership, which one would you recommend?
Well, I think that the one that, because and this was written by Tom Peters a few years ago, well, let me give you two. The one that written by Tom Peters is not pages and chapters of stories and things like that. It is continuous mini bits of advice that a leader really needs in order to be successful. The one that I had mentioned was To Lead is to Serve, period. So I love that book because there's so much instantaneous knowledge you can get out of it. The second book that I recommend to people was written in 2004, and it's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. So if you are interested in moving up in an organization or understanding how successful C-levels work, you will understand that in many cases you're going to be working with a team of very dysfunctional people, meaning that each functional group was downward looking at their own function as opposed to outward looking about the moving of the organization forward. And this CEO, when she came in, her purpose was to turn that whole thing around and get them to be upward and outward looking and let the organization follow that lead. So I think that's an excellent book. It's a fairly easy read. It's more like a story, but the information in there is truly valid today. The other one, of course, is It's a Little Big Things by Tom Peters. And then there are several other books out there. And what I should do is send you a list of all my favorites. I'll give you my top 10 in an email, and you can pass it on to your membership. Would that work?
Okay, Frank, thank you. Thank you very much. It was great to be with you today.
Okay, thank you.
And now we have a half an hour long break. Then we will have another presentation presented by a Hungarian speaker and the final wrap up. If you come back at 3:45, we will be precisely on schedule. Okay, so please come back at 3:45.